This is the Team Objection podcast for May 16th, 2019, episode 391. If you're really attentive and you can see us on the YouTube side of things, you know that I'm by myself again. But just for a moment, because I'm basically throwing you to the remainder of our Avengers Endgame review. We started it last week, but we had so much to say about it that it had to be split into 2 episodes. So yeah, here we are with part 2. On the off chance you missed part 1, you should go start there. Or if you're just curious what's going on here, just know that both parts, the first one and this one, are going to be replete with spoilers everywhere. But the Russos said it was fine, so we're not going to worry about that. And without further ado, the remainder of our Avengers review.
Yeah, that was an issue.
That and the whole Thanos can see her memories through the other one, even though we're not entirely sure how that works either. But it's okay, because the whole thing's kind of needs that to happen too.
Even that was I was okay with that, because that's a weird, they talked about when you mess with time, it messes back. That was that to me is the universe course correcting.
Yeah, that's not as bad.
That's okay. But yeah, you're what are the actual logistics of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that actually work?
And again, no time for it, I get it. But when it creates problems, then it starts to become an issue.
Thanos was a lot less sympathetic. And a lot of people have said it's a plot hole, and I'm wondering if it's... I thought it was decent characterization, because you're seeing someone who I think it's not arguable that he was at least somewhat sympathetic in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing someone who, seeing their own fate, being murdered defenseless, by the way, and seeing a group of people who can't just let things be. I think we're seeing how extreme, and how hardcore that made him. It's really not given enough time. It's a little too much conjecture on my part to be comfortable with, but I think that's what they were kind of going for.
Yeah.
I think it's fair.
I
thought it was fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Thanos is part of what makes him super sympathetic in the first one too, is we do get so much time with him, and that's the version of him that sacrificed the thing he loved the most for the Soul Stone.
Yeah, right.
This Thanos hasn't done any of that.
He hasn't gone through the journey to get the stones.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
And
he doesn't care.
And he also now knows what both of his daughters end up in. He kills one of them, and the other one betrays him, at least in his eyes. So, all those reasons combined, to me, it makes sense. I think it's fine. And I think I said this to you after the movie, Shaun, but it's really nice to actually be able to hate him.
Yeah.
It is.
And you get to watch him die twice, which is pretty satisfactory.
Yeah.
I must say, that opening bit where he's being all agrarian and he's just hanging out, and then Thor just lops off his head, I was just
oh.
I was I
didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to leave the room once they all showed up, but I wasn't expecting to just behead him in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah,
I loved it. I love that intro of they have a chance. Although I will tell, I was thinking, they have a chance, but then I'm actually thinking no, I know they don't, because I knew, and maybe you all did too, the energy going off. Oh, we saw another surge from another planet. It's he destroyed.
What else could
I
that
didn't
be?
know he was going to destroy all the stones. I was he destroyed at least one. And I was I knew it. And I knew that's what the main thrust of the movie is going to be. And they get there, the thing is empty. And I was I was right.
I didn't think it'd be
so
all. Because
I
in
didn't think
theory,
it was gonna
one
be
would
all.
be enough.
Yeah.
It stops the snap or anything of that magnitude from happening, even though the stones are still powerful. But no, it was just all of them are gone.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's I
That
love
was
hating
cool. I love that. Yeah, it's a comic is going to end up okay for a few reasons. Spider-Man had already been announced. But in the context of this movie, that's such a Darkest Night thing to do. You have a hollow victory against a half-dead guy who's not fighting back, and you have no hope of bringing anything back. Your only source was gone.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I actually loved the first half. I thought the first half was kind of slow and plodding and thoughtful, and I was there for all of that.
And miserable.
Huh?
And miserable, which is also a thing you
know.
like.
That ticks off all the boxes for me. I loved seeing the despair and truly feeling it with the survivors, that survivor's guilt. I felt that too. And I just thought the first half was A+.
Was Chris Evans' best acted scene in his entire tenure in this film universe in this movie when he's talking to the survivor group? Because
I loved it.
I
That
think
was so good.
it might be.
It was
It's
so
up
It
there.
was so good.
Yeah.
It was
really good.
I don't even know, he sometimes I think does not always nail. I thought he was not actually great in Infinity War. He was excellent in this movie, and I think I cared about him more in this movie than I ever could. And I think what you see is in every Avengers movie, it's like they didn't know how to handle him before. He's almost antagonistic in 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's always butting heads with
always
Tony.
a contrarian. He's always a fucking stick in the mud. And in this one, they literally address how much he's grown and how much like kind of cooler he is now when he meets his old self.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, I know, I get it. You can do
what
this all day."
What a square!
Yeah.
Right. And the Hail Hydra thing is one of the best moments in the film.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Just phenomenal.
I was like, I wanted to see an elevator fight. I was
did
like,
too.
and I was like, this is so much better.
Yeah, this is way better. We saw the elevator fight before, and it was fine.
There's actually not that much action. And I know you're thinking, oh my god, that the end is so bombastic. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but outside of that,
if you think like Civil War, you had like the big intro fight, you had the jet fight, you had the midway knife fight, you had the big finale. This is like really, the finale, and everything else is just characters like talking.
Yeah.
a couple of brief spars between them.
Yeah, Cap
Don't
fights
amount to
Cap.
much.
That's almost more
Cap
character
fights
development
Cap.
than like a fight.
Nat fights Hawkeye for like 4 blows before one of them goes off the cliff. There's a handful of little things just enough to kind of get your attention, get the heart pumping.
Yeah.
I truly did. I did enjoy the first half like so much for all of those reasons. I think a lot of the reasons why I'm less into like the second half is because there's so much action and there's just like it's kind of like a lot of word soup. It's just like time travel and time heist and now we're fighting and then all this stuff and I was just kind of like
no,
don't care.
see, I loved the time heist. Like I was so into the time heist.
I love the time heist
because
too.
all it was an excuse to do at least for the main character, just characterization. That was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Facing demons of the past,
and some fun alternate takes on scenes from the past too.
Yeah,
Different camera angles, additional scenes afterwards.
When he's singing and you don't have the music as the
that's
audience,
really good.
and then War Machine just punches the shit out of him.
So funny.
That was great.
So funny.
I also loved a theme that they built in these movies is, they're really like Cap and Iron Man. They're the 2 main characters, and so much of their arcs are built around people preoccupied with the past. And for Cap, that's really obvious. Man out of time. I mean, they use that line in every movie. Man, you're a man out of time. It has dual meanings. You see, and it's like, we get it. But even Iron Man, he spends how much money, I don't know, on tech that can like relive scenes of the past. I mean, they're both so entrenched. So to have a universe that builds on those themes so much, and then to have them literally go back in the past, I'm like, this is a great justification for time travel beyond so much time travel stuff that I've seen in the past.
So, I mean, we have segued to the good stuff, and thank God, because there's a ton of good things. One of the things I love is sort of connected to what both you and Michelle have just been talking about. The easy decision, the one that was sitting on a tee for them, was we have the time stone in play, we have the reality stone in play, so that one singular outcome that Doctor Strange saw has to go with, like, undoing what happened and popping out at a point before all of it happened and fixing it somehow. And instead of taking the low-hanging fruit, they instead went a different direction, brought everything from then into the 5 years later into this new existence, and still played with the past in a fun way because of the time heist section.
Yep.
All of that decision-making was excellent.
That's why I loved the rules, and there were issues, but I did like that at the very basic core, they let the audience know what's happening in the past isn't changing the future. That's important for one. You're not like, well, if this happens, then... well, how does this happen? That's removed from you having to think too hard about. Also, I appreciate it removes time travel really from being like a future overused mechanic. Yeah. One is the pin particles, and you can argue maybe you can make more, but the other is like you can't actually change the past. They found a loophole because they took items from the MacGuffin from the past, brought it to the present. And that was, I thought, really smart. So they didn't really like undo...
No.
The snap, they snapped again to reverse it.
Now, that raises some of its own questions that have some glaring issues, like, so everybody just comes back? We know that the world's not in great shape. We see, like, despondent bike riding kid riding down the street on a disheveled-looking street where there's, like, moss all over cars and stuff. So what happens when half the population just comes back?
And I'm hoping the future movies will address that. I will say the Spider-Man trailer... at least is heavily rooted in the fact that Iron Man is dead, so they're definitely staying with adhering to the consequences well, yeah, I don't know what the world is going to be like though. I hope, because there's a thing that they don't address, and I don't expect them to, but like we talked about it, when you snap half the population, the planes and the cars, and there's like a lot of collateral.
That all dies.
And they're not coming back.
People's driver's licenses expire. What happens at the school? We see Peter's school. Everybody's super ecstatic to be back. Peter sees his friend. All is well. Did all of them come back at the same age they were? Because 5 years have passed.
Yeah.
So what happened to the people whose 5 years have passed? They're not in 8th grade anymore, are they?
Yeah.
Or are they now 22-year-olds who are in 8th grade? What's happening there? A lot of things are like, I don't know how that works exactly. Hopefully they'll address it.
They have to at least address the school, right? We're in a remediary class or whatever, because I don't know. Everyone else who was in our class, if they even continued school after the snap, is in their 20s now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you to go back to high school, that takes some work, right?
Like, we brought all the people back from 5 years ago. What about all the people that died in the 5 years in between?
Yeah.
Now all those people are coming back to a world where their loved ones are gone, and they have no idea why. It's just, there's a lot of little tiny things there. Not a game breaker by any means, but still, like, you didn't really address that either.
And maybe it would have been nice to address it. I mean, because you still would have said, well, okay, there's nothing we can do about that, but there is something we can do about all these people who are snapped away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's all it would have taken. But I also don't fall that. It's pretty dark to think about that. And
yes.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But,
could be another of his own movies, or at least part of a movie to address it.
Yeah.
And that'd be fun.
I loved the time heist. I was like riveted every moment. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? This is I thought it was really inventive, and even though it was time travel, which is like the biggest storytelling trope in existence, I still thought it was very clever. All the things they did, and then mixing like Avengers 1 with like the sequels. So like the moment after with the Hydra coming in, I thought was great.
That was really cool. I wasn't expecting him to do that, to kind of blend all the movies together.
I thought it was hilarious, because you always get these posing shots. And you're like, okay, but like, what's like that? And then they cut away. You're like, what was like the next minute though? Because they're all posing, and then they show it. He's like, well, okay, we're done posing now. And then like Nat and I need to just think of his name. Clint are like drinking. It's like I like seeing like almost behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hulk's elevator thing. Who knew?
Oh my God, that was so good.
It almost ruins everything, but it's fun.
Yeah. I loved it.
Other standout moments, obviously Cap Mjolnir.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal.
That was so cool.
Pays off a moment from before. All that's really well and good. Gives him something else that's neat.
So the directors were like, he always could do that. I read an article.
I read that
and
one
I'm
too.
like, just shut up. Just shut up.
And they did say that it was their interpretation. Obviously, they didn't direct that film, so they don't really get to say either way.
Oh,
I'm like, that's certainly one way of viewing it. I don't know if it matters.
Wouldn't it have been cooler as a storytelling and a character development if, like, I read a theory he was harboring the secrets about, like, Winter Soldier, and maybe knowing about the relation with Tony's parents and was keeping that to himself. Maybe that was, like, the last thing. Now that he's fessed up, he's, like, in the free and clear.
And he's grown more since then, too. So you could combine those two things. And, like, he was already worthy enough to even jostle the thing, which was something nobody else could even do. And now that he's become even more full-grown, he can just wield it. I mean, all those things would be fine. I don't think the directors are doing themselves any favors with that interpretation.
I don't know why they keep talking. Just stop.
It's kind of
why do they keep doing this?
Yeah, they do.
It's a
keep
Rian
talking.
Johnson again.
Yeah, and they said I was just reading. I was just reading something else today or yesterday, something very recent with the Russo brothers about why Bucky didn't get the shield, which is another thing I'm disappointed about. Just a little bit. I feel like Bucky should have gotten the shield. But they did say that their reason why is because Bucky is a damaged character and that he can't use it because of that, and implying that like Sam is like a pure boy or whatever. That's not exactly what they said, but that's kind of the implication, basically.
They need to stop.
So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
I was disappointed at first just because I thought that would have been so cool, but I was like, if it's Sam, which is also true to the comics, and Bucky's like his awesome sidekick, that's okay.
That is true. And I saw it again, and I was like, it does allow Bucky to theoretically live a normal life by not being Captain America. So, like, that could be nice. It probably won't happen if he's Sam's sidekick, but it's an opportunity that he wouldn't have had. So.
I feel like I liked it because while I love me some Bucky time, don't get me wrong, I feel like it's more like understanding what Bucky would want. I don't think Bucky would want that, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, he very much always takes the back seat. That's kind of what he does. Like, he doesn't like to be in the limelight. That is not his responsibility. He never really wanted it to be after all that shit went down. Like, it makes sense that he would not, but like thematically it would be cool because it's like Cap's best friend, and so you pass it on and whatever, but as a character, it made sense to me why he didn't get it.
Honestly, if I have a bigger issue with that, because I don't really, I think I like Sam as Cap. It's really the fact that Winter Soldier hasn't done much of anything
I know.
in any Avenger movie.
One shot shooting his gun.
I know,
You're
one
like,
shot.
I'm sure you're doing a lot with that.
And I know there's a million characters, and he's not high up on the list of priorities, so I get it to some extent, but you're kind of like, why is he here?
I love Bucky.
Well, and on one hand, I think it's great that they're going to get their TV show. On the other, I also think that means that they have... you can cross from movies to TV, and you don't cross back a lot of times when it happens. I think they're done probably for movies. At the very least, I don't think we're gonna get like a Captain America 4, which actually that would have been really cool as the final movie to go for like passing the torch. I don't think it's gonna happen now.
I don't think so. I could see Sam as Cap in a future like late Phase 2 movie as a big reveal, because Cap's a big deal. But I think you're right overall. Yeah. Not as a main like vehicle for a film.
I did one of my biggest issues. I know now we're going back and forth.
That's fine.
And I get it. So I'm not like faulting it too much, but like all the stuff about Captain Marvel, I just think it would have been so easy to have her be one of the people going back in time, and you still can kind of escape her. I mean, unless... Yeah, I mean, you still could have gone around the fact that, like, she is overpowered, because, like, what did War Machine and Nebula do? Like, up until Nebula gets kidnapped, they did nothing. They talked, they punch out Peter Quill, they go back to the present. She could have just been along and, like, talking, and that would have at least just got her, like, a little more screen time. I just have to think, like, why? Why did we push this movie? Why did we jump through all the hoops? And at the same time, I'm thankful we finally had a female-led movie. But like the fact that they had it take place in the 1990s, and we want to make sure we get her in, and then it's like, oh, she's also going to be in the movie for 5 minutes, and I'm just like, what? It just seems like a missed opportunity. That's all.
That is a weird choice. I mean, I haven't seen Captain Marvel, so like, there's that aspect. I was fine with. I wanted the limelight to be on the original cast members. And so I was glad to not really see her take a front seat, to be honest. Though, I mean, where she was fine in the 5 minutes that she was she did kind of Deus Ex Machina the hell out of everything. She's very overpowered.
A little bit, but I was so glad. A lot of people were worried, and I guess I was too. She was going to come in and like single-handedly save the day. And I was like, I don't think they're going to make that mistake.
No, it didn't happen.
But a part of me was worried, and it wasn't the case at all. I mean, she gave some much-needed backup. I don't know what they're going to do for a future movie, honestly.
Yeah, they have a problem there. And I think the other issue is, I saw some people complaining that, like, well, I guess all this comes down to is what happens if she gets snapped? Everybody's just done because she's not around to save them. So if it's basically a coin flip that they even had this opportunity to begin with. And I'm like, yeah, but I assume that's part of the 4 billion and 300,000, whatever, the huge number of possibilities. Like, as strange as sifting through all these, anything where Captain Marvel dies in the snap is automatically just discarded. Right. Along with everything else that doesn't quite work out for this situation.
I was totally okay with that moment of, had she not been there in that exact moment, they would have been absolutely fucked. Because he was like, I'm not playing around this time. You're all dead. And I'm going to... but I wasn't sure if he was... I think he was going to snap everything out of existence.
Yeah.
And then use the stones again to like create... He was like to become God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would have been so bad. And they were this... I know it's dramatic tension, whatever, but this close.
Yeah.
Holy shit! That was a lot. And she was just there, and then he headbutts her and doesn't do shit. I love that too.
Yeah, that
really,
was good.
the women, to go back to it, they had the most success against Thanos.
Yeah, it's true.
You had 3 of the big 3. They all get their ass whooped the whole fight. You had to find a way for Hulk not to be involved. It was a little sad. You never got the rematch. I guess it's subverts expectations.
He would have lost.
He would have lost for sure.
Bad. If Thanos is this strong.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man is active in that scene, but mostly to like help people and run away, which is, to be fair, kind of what Spider-Man should be doing. He's not a head-on guy.
In every story, there's one where like he's fighting Galactus, but it's only like he's transporting like a specific piece of whatever, and I'm like that's great for Spider-Man. That's perfect.
Yeah, but it's
Just
Scarlet Witch and it's Captain Marvel who are really landing the serious damage.
Yeah,
and both of which trigger like emergency responses from Thanos. Both of them.
Yeah.
I love Spider-Man, and I loved like the whole sad like Mr. Stark thing in the first one. They went too hard on Tony's death. I was like, Peter, get the fuck out of here. Let Pepper in. Like,
okay.
We don't care about you. They milked it way too like 10 seconds too long.
I loved it.
No.
But I will say, while I did love it and I think it was fine, you have his wife right here. Probably wants to talk to him a little bit.
I know.
So there was that.
Mr. Stark, like, okay, we fucking get it. Like, we're sad, and like you're a sad little boy.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, it was too much, but I do love Peter, and yeah.
When I've never liked Captain Marvel more than when she was like, "Hey, Peter Parker." Like, I don't know why. I just love their. She's not. I don't know. This is all of the characters now have like there's like a playful, even Cap. This is a main issue I had with Cap. It's like he's so serious all the time.
Straight-laced.
And like Captain Marvel a lot, and I only saw her movie once, and I'm trying to think. She's not like super. She's pretty serious too.
Yeah.
That was like the only bit of like playfulness we got from her, and I appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that from
scene.
all of our characters. I guess I just have a thing against any character who is like so serious all the time.
Well, that's the DC Marvel problem, right?
Yeah.
All the DC characters are almost all super serious all the time, and that's not why we like their Marvel movies. We like that playful banter.
Yeah. That's why I liked Tony, and I like Cap so much more now that we see that side of him.
Yeah.
He makes jokes, and like he's kind of a little looser, and like I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
But
so I like their.
I would argue that I like, for Cap specifically, I like that he starts out being that super straight-laced, kind of annoying rule follower, and he does develop into a more looser.
Oh yeah.
So I like that as the foundation, and to see how far he's come over the course of the film. So I don't know, like.
Oh no, I love it too. No, I'm just saying, like, I like it. You know, I like the direction that they went in, but he has the best probably arc in the films if you look at it as one giant book, and that's why at times he is straight up unlikable, and to come to where he is now, where he might be one of the most likable, he's up there. If he's not like your preference, you know, it's up to the viewer, but like he's great.
Yeah.
I thought Tony had a really good arc. We haven't even talked about Tony.
Yeah, well,
the main spoiler.
The next segue was about to be, we have to give scores, but we can't do that without talking about Tony first.
Yeah, no.
We haven't talked about Bruce either, but
Thought his story was so good.
It was so good.
Because I want to. Yeah, let's talk about. I'll get to my point later. It doesn't make sense in the flow, but he's great. And his daughter, like, I love you 3000. There's some writing issues every once in a while. That was like, that line is golden.
So cute.
So cute. And she's adorable.
That
and
little
they're
girl
adorable.
is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
They could not have cast her any better. That was so good. I just loved all of his like scenes with her and Pepper, and I loved the focus on him and his family, and then making this choice to sacrifice for the greater good.
I
actually, he was a dead man.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
But, I also go ahead.
I didn't. I was gonna say I didn't. I was a little like, you know, everyone's kind of at risk there at the end. But I really thought it was still going to be Cap.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I thought Cap was going to die in Infinity War. I thought he was going to die in this movie. I just thought Cap was dead, like, constantly.
He was not. Okay, I will say, he had no chance of dying in Infinity War.
Yeah.
You do not have Captain America in your movie for 5 minutes and then kill him. There is no way.
Yeah,
this one
that would have been bad.
When he survived the scene where he walks up to like all of Thanos' army by himself with Mjolnir, and I thought maybe that was going to lead to the end for him, but when he was through that, I'm like, okay, he's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you had the moment to kill him with like great dramatic tension, and if you didn't do it there, you weren't going to do it.
Wasn't going to happen.
But I didn't. And part of it is you're so caught up in the movie. I wasn't like, oh, this means that Tony's dead.
No.
Even when when Doctor Strange is doing like the one thing, which by the way his hand was shaking, and I hope that was intentional because he never healed from the surgery, and that was like the whole point of his movie.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was trembling, and I was like, "That's if they did that on purpose, that's cool." Anyways, him saying even then I didn't think it was over, and then once he got the stone, I was like, "Oh, now okay."
Yeah. See, when he did the toast. One, I thought he meant like we're gonna win. This is it. That's what I thought he meant. I didn't realize he meant like you have to do it. And
well, no, like I think it was literally, if I do this thing that I'm thinking of, is it going to work? This is all what I interpreted. All just eyes looking at each other. If I do this thing that I think I'm about to do, is it going to work? And he was like,
"This is the one.
This is it." So yes,
alternate future out of the 4 billion, like, 4 million, whatever.
It's so good.
It was so good.
I love that
how it worked, but
I think you're right. I think that's the right interpretation of it, and I love that he couldn't say anything. I think that those last moments are actually a lot better because he gets to make 2 different farewell speeches in this movie already anyways. In the beginning and in the end, thanks to holograms. The fact that he was basically just completely overcome by shock in his final moments because this is so devastating for a human to do. I mean, look what it does to Hulk. Mm-hmm. Look what it does to Thanos. Like, it makes sense that a human, with a enhanced suit, whatever, is just like, no, I'm fucked.
But like the best moment of that is like, I think Rhodey meant something to him, seeing him. I think seeing Peter meant something to him. Pepper's the only one where he just like manages to like barely whisper like Pep. Yeah. And I was like, that was so sweet.
The only issue is just with Gwyneth Paltrow. She has no chemistry with him at all, and I was
like they used to,
weird.
Right? So that's weird.
Like I remember the first Iron Man, they were like hilarious together.
I blame Goop.
Yeah,
I love them.
I think she just doesn't want to be there. I think it's too big a paycheck to pass up. And I don't think she hates it, but I don't think she's like into it like most of the cast is.
She was not. I mean, I felt like bad for like Robert Downey Jr. It's like she was like totally checked out.
No, like, okay, when she first started it, I was like, what is this? She's like, we're fine. Like, we're good.
Oh, no. I don't even mean just that scene.
Oh, earlier, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
Anything, like, when they're even sitting on the couch, like, her acting was just really odd to me. They did not seem to actually be in love. Like, I didn't buy it other than knowing what I know from the previous films. It was weird.
The couple best moments that she has happen through ancillary means of other characters, like the daughter coming up and telling Tony that she's here to save him because of Pepper. Pepper, Mom told me to come save you. That's a cool moment, and it gives Pepper character, but it's not Gwyneth Paltrow on the screen when it's happening.
That's exactly right, because I love Pepper. I love her as a character, and I was disappointed in her relationship with how it was shown in the film just because of her acting, simply from her acting. I don't even think it was the writing. I don't think it was anything like that, because the whole like it's okay, like you can rest, like it done by anybody else or even by Gwyneth Paltrow, just better would have been so much better, but for some reason I did not buy it.
I agree, and especially because they amended her character a little bit, because she had been they were getting into like an issue where if she was going to be the wet blanket again, it's like, can you do, this isn't like really in character for her. Yeah. And so to have her be like, it was a mistake trying to get you to stop, and I'm actually encouraging you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That was
and to not guilt trip him in the final moments, because there was a little part of me that was like, please do not do anything like that here. Yeah. Please, God. And it didn't happen, so it's fine.
It didn't. Yeah. And I think the character choices were spot on. I actually really liked what they did with the character. I love Pepper, but I just wish I wish she'd been more on it or something. Because I loved her in Iron Man 1. I thought she was great. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what happened there.
Even in 2, she's movie's not good, but like their chemistry is still good.
And then 3 happens.
Yeah.
And she's not great, and it's not great.
Yeah. No, I agree with both of those. Mm-hmm. Do you know the line, I am Iron Man, and this is like behind the scenes that I actually appreciate from the directors. It was like a last second thing. And it's it's so obvious to have him say that.
Was it an ad lib or was it a call they made?
It was a call that they made, but it was like they went back and did a reshoot of that. Oh. At first he didn't say anything. He just snapped, which would have been fine, but it was such a good callback to the first movie.
Yeah. Perfect.
It felt just the tiniest bit forced. Just a smidge. I don't care.
A little bit.
I don't care. I thought it was really good. And him being silent after he snaps is made more poignant by that was being his last words. If he had been quiet before and after, I don't know if it has as much impact.
Yeah. And and again, it's movie logic, because I'm thinking this is fine. Why you have the glove? You would not risk snapping that thing to get you off your one-liner, you would immediately, the fate of the universe, you're going to do your one, but maybe, I mean, it's kind of in character for him too.
For him, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
To be a little boisterous in a moment of crisis, yeah.
But
about
yeah,
right.
I mean, I was disappointed. How do I say it? If you had told me, because I went into this movie being every fan was like, there better be a death toll. This is gonna suck if everybody lives. And I was thinking like, no, that doesn't have to be the case at all. And if you had told me going into it that Iron Man died, I would have been like really disappointed. But like the way that it happened organically in the film, I was like, I'm okay with this. Like this works for me, seeing how it played out.
The poetic symmetry of it. He began the series, like basically the start of this franchise was Iron Man. It made sense that he ended it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was cool. And
good bookend.
But everybody's like, these stories have to come to an end. And I'm like, yeah, but and Captain America, this is another reason why I like the Captain America thing. I know there were some issues, but like they have to discover ways to end these characters that don't, every time an actor's done or they want to move on, involve the character dying.
Exactly. That's the only reason I'm okay with it. I truly just think it's like weird. I don't really get the ending with Cap, but I understand it from we need to end this character's arc. And they didn't kill him. Like, I'm okay with it for that reason alone.
Yeah.
So I love the final battle, like on the scale. And we probably need to wrap up, right? I just keep talking, but
well, I mean, we could talk for another hour, but
I was a little disappointed with the like 3 versus Thanos fight a little bit. You can have them all losing, and we kind of talked about they're all a little rusty, which I appreciate. They haven't done anything for 5 years. All of them, like Cap loses to his younger self, and I was like, I think that was intentional, and it's because like he's a little older and probably a little rusty and whatever. I just thought they so like handedly get their asses whooped. Iron Man doesn't do anything.
No.
Thor doesn't almost barely do anything.
Pretty much.
No.
Iron Man, Cap is the only one who has like a moment with Mjolnir, and then eventually he gets.
Yeah.
And I have an issue with like you hit him with a hammer, you've done some damage, and then he immediately gets up, counters, and you're done. But
it's not really clear why he's so strong.
They did not do a good job of building that part.
No.
In the beginning of Infinity War, what they should have done was made it clear that he beat the Hulk without the stone, because I think that's what was implied. He didn't close the fist. He didn't have the stone in his hand.
Yeah.
But I think you assume he beat him because of the stone. And if you have someone who's better than the Hulk, now all of a sudden fighting the 3 is like, okay, that actually kind of makes sense. But they didn't do a good job. So you're like, why is he so strong now?
Yeah, he felt really super powerful, even compared to how I was in Infinity War. Because again with the Hulk thing, I don't know if they did a great job of that. And the fight was just super stressful because of it. I was very stressed the whole time.
I was thinking in anime, this is why they do forms, and it's frustrating sometimes. But like forms allow sometimes some of the other characters or even the main character to have like small victories, and then it's like, okay, there's a new form, and then the challenge starts again. This is just, I mean, it's this cool moment, and then it ultimately means absolutely nothing because it comes down to Iron Man doing the snap.
Yeah.
They get so whooped. I would have also appreciated knowing what that sword was made out of, because clearly it was stronger than vibranium.
Yeah.
By, like, a lot.
It completely broke it, and I was like, what is the deal with
Couldn't we
this
have had
sword?
like one line about the sword? Like, I don't know. I care about little stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a 3-hour movie. Don't give me the whole history of the sword. I just want like one line about like the strongest metal ever made.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm weird.
Because I've seen people counter with like, well, he clearly wrecked all of Asgard at the start of Infinity War. And that happens off screen in addition to him thrashing Hulk. And like you said, maybe if they address the Power Stone thing, and then people are like, well, maybe his army did a lot of that. It's like, well, look, none of this really matters. The fact remains that he hasn't done a lot to this point. Maybe he was holding back in Infinity War because he cared more, and now he's just ruthless. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
All those are potentially justifiable, but 0 of them are addressed on screen, which just means you have this guy beating the shit out of everybody.
I wanted Hulk. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, that would have been great to have him in it a little bit. I wanted Iron Man, and I wanted Thor to just a little more to get some good hits in.
Land some blows and then get wrecked.
Yeah. Thor doesn't get a single hit in. I mean, he has that moment where like they almost get him.
Yeah.
With the help of Cap. They're almost there. Iron Man, literally, other than killing him, which is not like fight, does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He gets wrecked. Shoots him with a laser beam. Mm-hmm. Doesn't do anything. And then gets hit with Mjolnir on friendly fire.
Yeah.
And then he's out for like ever.
Yeah.
He has that cool sword. It's done after the first hit.
Yeah.
Disappointed by that, but also like geeked out. That was such a for all the characters they had to balance, even just on a if you're talking about scale and scope in that last fight, it's great.
The audience was a little slow to react in our theater for the one that we saw as a group when he catches Mjolnir. Well, a hand catches it, and everybody's kind of quiet. And I'm like, how do you not? First of all, how do you not recognize this hand? And second of all, how do you not know what this could be?
Yeah, every theater that I went to, when I don't really know why, because to me it was obvious, but when he turns in the beginning, Jeremy Renner turns around and his daughter's like, they're like, oh
yeah,
every time they were so surprised.
That's funny.
I don't know why.
I had a really loud theater for one of my
which I bet would be fun.
It was so fun. We were all really into it. It was actually really, really fun.
In the last one I saw with Peter, the everybody clapped at the end.
Yeah.
And it was like good. And they were way into it. And as long as they're not like obnoxious and like talking through the movie, I like crowds that are like laugh a lot, gasp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reaction.
React.
One of my groups was very like clapping and laughing and like all the appropriate reactions.
There's a professional wrestler named Johnny Gargano. I won't go down this segue long, but just he related this to the feelings that they can give other people watching wrestling. It's meant to be over the top. He was in a theater where people reacted to everything, and he said it was a blast because of it.
Yeah,
because people weren't scared of like let your emotions be known. This is a big deal. This is an era-ending movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So now I think I've touched on my big thoughts. Time Heist, so good. Mostly talking. This movie is mostly talking. It really is.
Yeah.
And I liked it a whole lot. Even in the final fight, they stop. They keep pausing the fighting to have different characters talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everything that's not talking, I honestly couldn't care less about.
Yeah, at no point was I like, stop talking and go back to fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the fighting.
I like the fighting too, but I wasn't like, yeah, more of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a right amount of it. All right, it's time for scores.
Oh, God.
I'll go.
All right.
All right, here comes
Set
the
us
4.
up.
No. So, okay, we kind of like front loaded the whole episode with me for the things that I thought were like a huge miss, and I wasn't swayed. I still feel like things with Thor were just not done very well or very like sympathetically. I feel like the women weren't treated very well. Though Shaun, I do appreciate your comment about it being more of a franchise issue than it is like a film issue, and I also appreciated what you guys said about the narrative satisfaction with Black Widow dying over Hawkeye, and so like all that considered, I'm less like furious about it if I actually like stop and like think about it. It does make sense. I know why they did it. It's just frustrating in general as to like why it happened. As a whole,
Yep.
So I have less of like a knee-jerk reaction of like, I want to give it like a 4, because as we sit there and we talk about the things I enjoyed, like there are a lot of really good moments, and I spent so much time with these characters, and yeah, some of it's silly, some of it's ham-fisted, some of it's not done super well. There's also a lot of heart, and I think that some of the stuff they did very well, and even some of the minor characters. We didn't even talk about like Ant-Man, who I thought was hilarious in this movie, which is like, I mean, I've seen both of the other films with him, and I'm like, nah, whatever, it's Ant-Man, it's cool. But like, I thought he was really funny. He really did well in the parts that he was in. I really loved the stuff with Doctor Strange, like in the Time Heist, he wasn't even really in it, but like hit the Tilda Swinton, whatever her name is in the film. I love that part where it was like, why did he give it up? Like, oh, I have to give this to you. Like, that was so good, and like, I just really enjoyed that. Like, little things like that I thought was really thoughtful and well done. And I left the theater just like kind of like feeling good, and it was entertaining and enjoyable, and I think there's a lot to be said about that, especially for the finale for all these films. Again, not perfect. There was no way it could have been. It's so easy to poke holes in something that is just of such a grand scope. We just don't have the time. And with that in mind, I will give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Not bad.
7.5.
Not bad at all.
That will be the lowest.
Michaela.
Oh, God.
No, you don't know, Chris. Michaela could.
Yeah,
I want so badly for her to give this a 10. After what you said in the opening, I want so badly for her to look you dead in the eyes and give it a 10 and a half.
we invited you on the. No, go
ahead. Okay. Let me just.
Or do you need a second? If you need a second,
I might need a second just to collect my thoughts.
I loved it. If we're looking at, it's not the best film that they've done in this franchise. It's probably top 5. It's definitely tier 1. I've separated my list into tiers, by the way, so it is tier 1 for sure. As the closing of the book that is this like 22 film now, 23 franchise so far, I thought like you can't do much better than this film did. And even everything I felt like was so thoughtful. Yes, it's time travel, but only as an excuse to revisit all the best moments that have led up to this. Like there were so many little Easter eggs, lines that they've used before. It was like very lovingly made in considering the history. I thought they really tried to give satisfying arcs to all the characters that they needed to. Iron Man, Cap, Thor, even Thor in a way, who might actually have a future still.
Yeah.
I thought it was so well done and still epic. And how many of these movies where you reach the third one and it's such a letdown? I can think of a lot more examples of where I'm let down than that succeed. And this was one that like thankfully they delivered. Not perfect, but like about as close as I think you can be. So I will go 9.5.
Holy shit.
I will go 9.5.
That is a very high score.
Because I think the only films above it are like 10s for me.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
And it might be like a 9.2.
Yeah.
Or 3, because like I don't think Ragnarok is a perfect movie either. Like I wouldn't say that's a 10, but I thought it was better than this one. But that's the region that we're talking about. Winter Soldier, Iron Man 1, Ragnarok, and this one is like dancing with those for me.
Yeah.
What you were gonna say? Sorry, Michelle.
I was just gonna say it's not tier 1 for me. It's probably upper tier 2.
Okay. I like that we're all thinking in tiers now. This is good.
Yeah, well, no, I am. And
there'll
I'm
be
thinking about
Okay.
the 3 that you mentioned are in my tier 1. I'm trying to think of the others that are, but I know that there are other Marvel films that I enjoyed quite a bit more than this one.
I think we're going to get to this eventually. We already talked about it maybe ahead of the Spider-Man movie, where we're going to rank all of them. Mm-hmm. My tier 1 is not big, and my tier 2 is huge.
Yeah.
Because I think, as much as I love this series, so many of the movies are like, that was good. That was fine.
Yeah.
Good to fine. So many of them. Tier 1 is probably like 5 movies, 6 movies at most.
Yeah.
And tier 3 is like 5 movies.
Yeah. The ones they do really bad are also kind of low.
There's not many,
but I have a
which is
huge
nice.
like mediocre.
Yeah.
It's a good track record, to be honest.
It
really is.
It's better than DC so far.
Damn.
That's for sure. Okay.
You ready yet, Michaela, or am I going?
I can go now.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this movie. I was a crying mess multiple times. It upset me, but in mostly a good way. Just because it was great seeing all these stories come together after 20-something movies. They didn't drop the ball. Everything was interwoven, and it was just really well done. And I liked the blend of action and dialogue, although now that I think about it, there really is more dialogue than action. But
yeah, which is great,
which is fantastic,
but there is. Like,
and I love it. And I think it brought the series to a really nice close. And on one hand, I'm excited for where the series goes, but I'm really happy with this very like clear end point that we kind of have.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I don't know where it ranks, and I'm like trying to think of it in tiers as well. But I think I can safely give it a 9.2.
I safely give it a 10.
A 10. I stare you in the face. No, I'm gonna give it a 9.2. I think
I'll give it and every Marvel movie a 10.
Just because I don't know if it's. I mean, it'll be rewatchable for me, but the amount of times that I'm gonna cry, I don't know if I want that. So
I got emotional during the death on the. Vormir.
Mm-hmm.
Got emotional. Iron Man dying.
Those last 10 minutes were rough.
There was another emotional one. I don't remember what it was, but I'll think of it later. Where I like kind of tear up. Doesn't happen a lot for me, but it definitely. Actually, it's happening a lot more now as I'm getting older. I don't know why.
Yeah, me too.
Mess nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Also,
anytime you have those like soldier coming home videos, like they do at sports games sometimes, where like let's surprise the family.
Oh yeah.
Because he's in the mascot costume or something. Like those get me every single time now. It's formulaic. I know it's gonna happen, and I'm like, ah, shit, here we go.
Yep.
Those goddamn onions.
Yeah.
appreciate that they brought back Dark World, kind of, but they actually made it good and meaningful with the mom.
Renee
funny,
Russo got the best role she's had in the whole series, and it was not even in like her movie.
There's a lot of fun little cameos in this. Like the amount of star power across this is kind of amazing when you think about it.
I love the recycled over serious footage of Natalie Portman waking up so stupid.
Here comes Rocket.
And then Rocket superimposed in the background.
Yep.
That is hilarious to me.
That was so funny.
So you're 9.2. I'm like 9.3.
Okay.
9.2, 9.3,
I like it.
7.5.
So where do I fall?
Where do you fall? Is it in the time capsule?
Are you a 10?
I look you in the eyes. How dare you not go 10? It's a 10. It's not a 10. I think it's remarkable that it delivered on so many fronts. As a couple people mentioned earlier, it had a lot of ways it could have been a letdown, and it pretty much isn't. The biggest issues we talked about are of certain portrayals and of certain plot holes, but it's not really about direction or about choices that were made as regards to plot or characterization, other than like some of the stereotypes that they may have fallen into. Beyond that, I think for the most part we all love the decisions that they made pretty much from start to finish. And that's hard to do. We're seeing that with the Game of Thrones final season right now, where when people are so invested in something for such a long time, almost everybody ends up being disappointed because their visions for how things might have ended don't come to fruition, and they feel let down when it doesn't happen, regardless of how much they like what did. And here, you can pick nits, and a few things could have been done differently or better or longer or whatever, but overall they delivered on pretty much every level, and that's kind of impressive. I'm also impressed just by the balance between Infinity War and this movie. When you took a look at the 5.5 hours it encompasses, the characters that got a lot of shine in their first movie didn't get as much in this one. Characters that didn't get a lot of time to shine there had plenty to offer here.
Yep.
So everybody kind of comes off feeling like they got enough. There's a ton of characters they're juggling, and yet for the most part everybody feels like they get a satisfying send-off, and if they didn't completely, most of them still have things coming down the road.
Yeah.
And all of that is pretty remarkable. To have that many moving parts that could have been such a huge problem, they delivered on a lot of fronts. It's a 10 on enjoyment. With the issues we spoke on earlier, I'm at a 9. Critically. I can't go any higher than that. Maybe my heart would like to, but I think when I look back on this down the road, I'll still, again, enjoyment, huge, but some of the issues that it has, I think, are undeniable and enough to knock it down a single point. So it's like an 8.5 average somewhere thereabouts. I'm not doing the math. There's fractions and decimal points.
Wow.
It goes in the time capsule.
Goes in the time capsule.
Woo.
Which means that Cap can go back and ruin our time capsule.
Yeah.
But it won't affect this current time capsule, so it's fine.
I mean, again, like
Capsule.
I didn't hear a lot of. Definitely heard issues for sure. I don't know if I've heard anybody be like, "Oh, it was kind of anticlimactic." Like, no one had that. Everybody, was mostly satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you would have loved going into my theater. I was standing in line at the concessions, just getting Starburst or something, and this woman walked up to the girl in front of me and was just like, "Oh my god, hi, how are you? It's been since middle school. By the way, Iron Man dies." I was like,
What?
Yeah, and everyone was just confused. And she was like, "You know me, just spoiling everything." I was just like, "You're a fucking idiot." I already knew. I had already been spoiled. But what?
I would have been so
I heard
mad.
that somebody
Oh my
got
God.
beat up for going outside and spoiling in front of a line. I heard somebody beat the shit out of somebody. I was just
I would have killed him.
I couldn't even believe that was. And I went and saw it 3 days after it had come out. It wasn't it had been a week or two. It was right there. I was shocked. You would have been. I thought of you, Shaun. I was like, you would have been so pissed.
Here was my I'm pretty open on spoilers too. Not on this one. I care so much. I did not want to be spoiled. I unfollowed some people on social media. This is how I'm prescient, okay? Someone posted, this is no context, no nothing, "I love you 3000." And I'm like, this is a reference. I know it to Avengers. I just know it's going to be. And I was thinking 3000's like a character, like a nickname or something. I didn't know. They just meant like the volume. I didn't care. Unfollowed. Blocked. Forever. I'm done.
Yeah.
And it turns out it wasn't. I mean, not really a spoiler, but kind of.
But a little bit.
Yeah.
More than you wanted, which was 0.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, people just want to be talking about it, I suppose, and some of them love thriving in that environment of ruining it for others. But it's like, man, just fuck off.
Even just all the rumors beforehand when people are like, oh, I heard Thor's not going to make it through the early part of the movie and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do not tell me anything. I don't care.
I'm okay.
That rumor's probably false, but I don't want to hear nothing.
Theories, I'm okay with. Theories is like whatever. Theories are fun. As soon as I read somewhere like the script leaked, which I actually don't think that ended up happening. As soon as that happened, I was like, okay, I'm done. Because I don't want like actual spoilers, but theorizing and stuff is fun.
Man, some people go down those rabbit holes, and you're just like, and sometimes they're right, and you're just like, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
The only thing I heard, and I think it's because some footage was released that like it was heavily postulated that they're gonna go at the beginning and get their asses kicked, and then you have to regroup. And I was like, I bet you that I didn't know they were gonna just kill him. I was like, I bet you it's not gonna be that. I bet they're gonna fight and they're gonna win, and it's not gonna matter because he already destroyed it. And that. I was kind of right, but not really, because he didn't fight at all. They chopped his arm off.
He just wore his overalls. He just wanted to be in overalls. He wanted to have a nice day.
Yeah, he's just out farming. Doing that agrarian farm life.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also loved, and this will be a lot, just like, it was such a bad place. Like, our heroes looked so bad there. Jumping this, like, and I know everything he's done, and I get it, but, like, totally defenseless, half crippled, like, dead. Never fought back at all, and then executed. Like, that's not heroic, and that was like the point. They're so fallen,
executed, and taking away any slim chance they might have had to find out what could have been done. Because you can tell there's characters in that scene who still want to ask questions, who are going to try and find any small window of hope there. And Thor cuts his head off, and everybody goes, "Oh,
yep."
So we're stuck here now. This is done." And it takes Ant-Man being knocked out of the quantum realm by a fluke, but again, it's the one possibility. Every time the ant didn't step on that button, Strange discarded it. You know.
Yeah.
So people were talking about that being like the most Hail Mary, and I'm like, it's okay. We built that in with Strange's thing.
Yeah, we did actually.
Mm-hmm.
That makes that okay.
Yeah.
Almost like preferred in a way. You're like, wow, you can really see how like thin this was.
The margin was non-existent.
Yeah.
And it was so clever to have Ant-Man be like the catalyst for that. Have a character
I liked that.
who's meant like really nothing serious to any of these movies be like the big Tony figured out time travel in a day. That was not great, but Ant-Man being the catalyst was still amazing.
Yeah.
So anyways, we can keep talking and we shouldn't, but that to me that's why this is a 9.5. It's like it's so satisfying on so many levels, and you don't get that a lot here.
No.
Hulk dabbed.
Yes, he did.
Oh my God.
That was so
he doesn't
good.
want a picture. He's literally saying, "I don't want a picture." Was maybe my favorite moment of the whole movie.
That was really good.
I loved it.
I got more enjoyment than I should have out of watching the kids squirm. That was well done by them in that scene. They're like, "Hey, we don't want to." No.
I guess.
Yeah, no, well, sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll do it now. He's like, "No, I don't want your pity." I loved it.
Alrighty, well. Everybody loved Endgame. Not a shocker, I suppose, but maybe the extent to which we did speaks well of the film itself. That's the end of this episode. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, on social media at Team Objection, on youtube.com/objectionnetwork for some time travel shenanigans of our own, plus video game playthroughs. And finally, send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com. See you next time.
Bye.